Hello, my name is Klarakos from Peaky Board Gamer and I welcome you to the official Meadow Downstream How to Play video. In this expansion, a lot of new features are added to the wonderful world invented by Klemens Kalicki and the tremendous nature art by Carolina Kiak. In this video, I will explain the rules of the expansion only, so if you don't know how to play Meadow, please refer to our official Meadow How to Play video, link of which I post up here. Let's start with a quick overview. In this Meadow expansion, players are moving downstream in this river trail to observe new natural sightseeings. A new water ground type and many watery creatures waiting to be discovered by players when placing their trail tokens in the recessions of the new board. Meadow Downstream introduces a new oar symbol, enabling players to sail down the river trail, gaining various bonuses and scoring opportunities along the way. The player using these opportunities in the best way will win in Meadow Downstream. Setup rule number 1. If you want to play Meadow with a Downstream expansion, you need to make sure that all the contents from the U envelope you'll find in your base game are added to the rest components. In the envelope you'll find some cards and also a gold token. Add them in and you're good to go. The expansion adds 3 new cards to each of the north, west, south and east decks. If you want to play with the expansion, you must add these cards to the corresponding decks. But if you just want to play with the base game, you need to find and remove these cards. You can identify them by the small drop symbol next to the card's number. Then after you shuffle each stack, set up the board as normal. Then on the campfire board, add the new fish gold tokens to the rest before randomly placing them on the campfire board. Then place the 2 new waterfall tokens after the next stone from the hourglass and before the previous stone from the hourglass. As you're here for new adventures, you need to add the new river board next to your campfire board. This board is double-sided, offering 2 variants of this expansion. After you choose one, you need to add the holder with the new river cards on this space. Each side depicts a river track and a river card area. After you shuffle the deck, you need to place 1 face-up card to each space of the river card area. The expansion introduces a new ground symbol, which is the water ground. Each player starts the game with an additional water ground starting card. If you're playing with less than 4 players, remaining starting cards return to the box. Then each player takes an additional river trail token, as well as a kayaker token, which is placed in the first space of the river track. Now, if you're using the lazy river side of the board, place the 4 beaver cards facing upwards on this space here, and the sunset cards in a descending order face up in this space of the board. The 4 VP cards should be on top. Then from the remaining gold tokens, randomly choose 2 and place them facing upwards to these 2 spaces on the board, and also give each player the additional 3-point bonus token. If you are using the Wild Rapids side, then again you need to place the sunset cards in a descending order in the corresponding spot. Then take the 10 tokens and after you shuffle them, place 1 tile facing upwards on the board for each player in the game. In my 3 players example, I will add 3. Then do the same with Pierre tokens. Remaining tent and Pierre tokens are returned in the box. Players choose the side of each one of their starting ground cards and place both of them in their meadow, one next to the other. The game is now ready to start. In terms of gameplay, players now have a new river trail token that they can use in the recessions of the new board in order to take any one card from the selected column or row. The river trail tokens can only be used in the river trail board notches. However, players may also use their Wild Path token, if allowed by the player count, into these notches as well, but not any other token. The player must take one of the cards, then immediately replenish the empty space with a new card from the river deck, and then the player gets to play 1 card from their hand into their meadow or surroundings area as normal. In the rare case the river deck depletes, you replace it with the south deck and then continue with the replacement or the drawing of cards. After this point, whenever you need to discard river cards, you remove them from the game instead of placing them in the bottom of the corresponding deck, which is always the case when discarding cards. The expansion cards illustrate a new oar symbol. As soon as these cards are played into your meadow or surroundings areas, players instantly move their kayaker one space forward for each arrow depicted on that oar. When in a fork, the player may choose which way to go, but players may never move upstream or backwards if you like. Some of the spaces depict various bonuses. These are granted to players once they step or pass through these spaces. These bonuses will be explained later. However, you should know that some of the spaces depict a number next to them. These victory points will be scored at the end of the game, so the further you move down the river track, the more victory points you will gain. The new water ground type plays exactly the same with the rest. All players start with one such card in their meadow, which still has a limit of 10 ground cards. The expansion also introduces the fish symbol. If you satisfy the requirements on the card as normal, you may place the card in your meadow either on a water ground card or on the top of a column that has the water ground symbol on the base. This is also indicated by the illustration in the bottom right corner of the icon. Also, some path token powers have been altered mainly to include river cards. Let's see these changes in detail. This bonus, for example, enabling players to take any face-up card from the main board, now also enables players to take any face-up card from the river card area. And as always, the empty space will be replenished from the corresponding deck. With this bonus, the player could take the top 3 cards from any board deck, keep one and then discard the rest too. Now the player can also choose to draw these cards from the river deck, and after they keep one, they discard the rest in the bottom of the corresponding deck. When all players have placed their path and river trail tokens, the round ends, and as per normal, players retrieve their tokens and the round marker moves to the next space. When the round marker passes through a waterfall token, you must also discard all the cards from the river card area and then randomly place them in the bottom of the river deck. Then you refill all the empty spaces with new cards from the deck. The function of the hourglass remains exactly the same. Now let's explain the additional gameplay features of the lazy river side, which is also easier for new players. With this bonus, the player takes the top card from the river deck or from the east deck. With this bonus, the player either takes a road or discards any card from their hand in order to take the top 2 cards from any one of the board or the river decks. This bonus is exactly the same with the path token bonus explained earlier. The player takes any face-up card from the board or from the river card area. With this bonus here, the player takes the top beaver dam card. With this one, the player takes a road, with that one the player plays one card, and with this one the player takes the top sunset card. This space here offers 2 goal pairs, one of which is always a triangle. The triangle is another symbol we will also find in the new cards of the expansion. If at the time the player steps or passes through that space, the player has either pair of symbols in their meadow area, then the player places their bonus marker here and will score these points at the end of the game. In scoring, players first score all the victory points depicted on cards played in their meadow or surroundings area. Then they score the victory points depicted on their played bonus tokens, including these here. And depending on how far they've reached on the river trail, they also score the victory points depicted in the last passed checkpoint. So the green player scores 13 points, the red 8, and the yellow player 5 victory points. In the Wild Rapids board now we have different but similar bonuses. With this one the player takes the top card from either the south or the west deck. With this one the player takes the top 2 cards from the north deck, keeps one and discards the other. Here the player takes a road and also takes a face-up card from the main board or the river card area, plays a card, takes a road, takes the top sunset card, and this here is a shortcut that the player may only take if a triangle symbol is visible in their meadow. Otherwise, the player has to take the long route. Finally, we have these 2 spaces, one where the player can take a tent and one where the player can take a pier token. In any case, the player takes and keeps any one of the tiles after triggering the depicted effect immediately. This one worth 2 victory points at the end of the game, and the player also plays one card. The next one worth 1 victory point, the player takes any face-up card from the main board or from the river card area and then plays one card. The next one grants the player the depicted victory points, With this one, the player plays 2 cards. And with the last one, the player can take any face-up card from the main board or from the river card area, and then also play 1 card. Bonuses on the Pierre tokens are the following. With this one, the player takes 2 roads. With that one, the player draws the top 3 east cards, keeps 1, discards the rest, and then also plays 1 card. With the next one, the player simply takes any face-up card from the main board or from the river card area. With the next one, the player takes the top 2 river deck cards. With this one, the player takes the top east, west, and north cards. And with the last one, the player can discard any card from their hand in order to gain the top 2 cards from any one deck. In scoring, players first gain points from their played cards, victory points from their played bonus tokens, victory points depending on how far they've reached, and also the victory points depicted on their acquired 10 tokens. And that were the rules of Meadow Downstream. Finishing, I'd like to add that the expansion also adds new features to the solo mode of the base game. This was Hector Rakos from Picky Board Gamer. If you liked this video, you'll find many more how to play videos in our YouTube channel. Until then, have fun and play more board games.